Welcome to Will It Build, the series where I take your builds from my YouTube comments and Discord server and put them to the test to see if they are the real deal. If it's solid, then I'll gift you 1,000 silver, and if it's really something special, you'll be featured in a dedicated build video for your submitted build. So comment yours below so we can answer the question, will it build? Welcome to another episode of Will It Build. Today we're trying out an attack helicopter hunter build submitted by Connolly, spelled backwards. It's kind of a variation on my former Radiant Dance Machines build, where you have like infinite dodges and you're spamming withering blades, the shurikens all over the place that I did back in Season of the Deep. But this time we have kind of an upgraded version from it with the new Ascension aspect, where you're also now going to be like spamming the helicopter move from Ascension, putting a bunch of burst of energy that's going to make it amplified. It's going to jolt everything. And so it's kind of like an upgraded version of that previously highly enjoyed build. So we're of course starting off with the Radiant Dance Machines, which is nice because this one does not require you to have an exotic class item. Therefore, it doesn't require you to have good RNG in the dual destiny mission. So I love that aspect about this one. We've got the Dance, where activating your dodge ability while near targets allows you to dodge additional times for a short period. For those who are not familiar with Radiant Dance Machines, it's literally infinite dodge. So additional times is, well, it's selling it a little bit short there. Defeating targets will extend the duration of the additional dodge. This works the same way as buffs like Devour, where you can defeat them by any means. It doesn't have to be like specifically melee final blows, doesn't have to be anything like that. You just have to kill stuff and then you can continue to spam your dodge. And so we're pairing that with the new Prismatic subclass and the new Ascension aspect, where you can use your air move while you're airborne to consume your class ability that, remember, we have infinite of, to propel yourself up. You create a burst of energy, you make yourself and everyone around you amplified, and you jolt targets. And we know how good jolt is, of course. We're also going to be pairing this with Stylish Executioner, because we have a lot of ways that we're going to be debuffing enemies, right? Because we can alternatively, we don't have to just do Ascension when it comes to our infinite dodge loop. We can also be spamming our Gambler's Dodge to be making a ton of Withering Blades for ourselves, and all of those things that debuff enemies are going to play into Stylish Executioner so that we can get invisibility whenever we get a final blow on something that has an elemental debuff, right? That counts for Jolt, that counts for Slow, that counts for Unravel. With something like our Grapple Grenade, which is the grenade that they recommend for this build. They did clarify, however, that you can switch up the grenade if you want to. You don't necessarily have to go Grapple. I do, however, think that Grapple is probably the best option here, and I'll explain why in a little bit. First things first, I want to get to the super. We're looking at Silence and Squall, which I think is a really solid super, especially considering its recent buff. But I also love it a lot for its pairing with one of the fragments that we have in this build, the Facet of Purpose. So when we have the Facet of Purpose, when we get an Orb of Power, we get a buff based on the damage type of our equipped super. And so when we're using the Stasis super, we receive the Frost Armor buff, which is very, very powerful. It's kind of new. It kind of existed back in the day. It was kind of like what Renewal Grasps did, but they just kind of changed the verbiage of it. I think you get up to, if you have 5 stacks of Frost Armor, you get up to like a 22.5% damage resistance buff, which is pretty potent, especially when you pair it up with other things like Tier 10 Resilience and some other damage resistant sources like Chest Piece Armor mods. So I love the pick of Silence and Squall here. I think you could totally justify going like Tether as well. They said you could go Tether, Silence and Squall, or Golden Gun, which all play very well into the Facet of Purpose. If you're going with Tether, then you get Void Overshield anytime you pick up an Orb of Power. And if you're going into Golden Gun Marksman, maybe you want a little bit more pure damage from your super, then you get Restoration anytime you pick up an Orb of Power. And I think all of those are fantastic sources. As far as the other fragments go, they're set us up with the Facet of Blessing, which they say is absolutely required for this build. It says melee final blows start health regeneration, and while transcendent, melee final blows start health regeneration for you and nearby allies. And obviously that a big part of that is the Radiant Dance Machines loop, spamming Gambler's Dodges, getting a ton of Withering Blades, and infinitely throwing them. As far as our other fragments go, they have a setup with the Facet of Dawn, where powered melee hits against targets will make us radiant, which makes a lot of sense to me if we're going to be spamming melee abilities. They have a setup with the Facet of Ruin, which I'm wondering, this is the one where I'm looking at and I'm like, I wonder if we could potentially swap this out for something else. They say that this one is a little bit more optional. I like it for the mobility bonus, which means you can get back into your Radiant Dance Machine loop a little bit more frequently because you're going to have a quicker cooldown. And I do like it for the aspect of increased shatter size, because you're going to be doing a lot of shatters with your spamming Withering Blades. My thing is, I don't know how this is going to feel in practice, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on this one. I'm wondering if there's something else we could do that kind of gives us benefits when we're in possession of a light buff, because we're going to have amplified pretty much permanently. Another one they said was optional was the Facet of Bravery, but I actually love this one and would go so far as to call it required for this build if you have good Void and Strand weapons that you can link up. Reason being, is that with the grapple grenade, if you grapple in and kill something with the grapple melee, it counts as both a grenade final blow and a melee final blow, which for the purposes of Facet of Bravery means that you'll get both volatile rounds for your void weapons, since it counts for the grenade final blow aspect, and you'll get unraveling rounds for your stranded weapons, since it counts for the melee final blow aspect of this fragment. So I actually really like this pick a lot if you have good strand and void weapons to link up with it. They didn't specify any particular weapons for this build, so you can use literally whatever you want. I really want to lean in on that Facet of Bravery aspect of this. I'm going with a strand SMG, Imminence, which is the new raid one, Demolitionist, and Chaos Reshaped, so we have our maximum uptime on our grapple grenade, and Chaos Reshaped is basically better Frenzy when it comes to damage. It's like Frenzy, but more damage, no reload speed buff, but you also get a heal. Like pure, I think you get a small heal every 7 seconds when you're at X2. So I really like this bad boy. For those of you who don't raid, I think there's a lot of options you could go with here. For example, if you wanted to maybe try a special weapon, you could go with the Call. And you could then go like maybe avoid primary ammo exotic weapon here, like Graviton Lance or something like that. I'm going with Buried Bloodline because I think this thing is absurd, especially this season, because you kill 4 red bar enemies, you instantly get Devour. You kill 1 orange bar enemy, you instantly get Devour. And so I love Devour for the purposes of regenerating HP with every kill, but I really love it for the purposes of getting bonus grenade energy on every single kill, because then we can spam our grapple grenades more frequently and get more procs out of our Facet of Bravery. Next, since we're playing into the strand weapon power fantasy, going with the Cataphract grenade launcher, you could probably go with the new Scintillation linear adept fusion rifle. You could go with the Pro Memoria machine gun, which is brand new. It's the Pale Heart Destination machine gun. There's a lot of angles you could take with this, so that's kind of up to you. When it comes to seasonal mods, definitely want Threaded Blast because we're going to be making tangles with the grapple grenade, the grapple melee. I really want Expanding Abyss to buff up the void damage, because with our Buried Bloodline, when we have Devour, we're going to be weakening targets. While Devour is active, this weapon weakens on hit. And with Expanding Abyss, void sources deal increased damage to weakened targets. So I like that a lot. I wouldn't say anything else is super important. Void Hegemony, Radiant Orbs, and Galvanic Armor are all fantastic when it comes to Prismatic. Galvanic Armor, especially for this build, while you're amplified, you get bonus damage resistance. I believe it's something crazy like 30% or something like that. So I would say the top 3 most important ones here are Threaded Blast and Galvanic Armor. And then if you're going ahead and running Void weapons, if you have Buried Bloodline with the Catalyst, Expanding Abyss is pretty good. But if you're running something else, Expanding Abyss not really quite as necessary. As far as the armor mods, they recommended, the main ones that they said we really want to go with are going to be Dynamo and Hands-On. I understand Hands-On perfectly because we're going to be throwing a ton of melee abilities. I'm not sure how useful Dynamo is going to be, however, because it's my understanding that Dynamo is not procced when you're in your multi-dodge Radiant Dance Machine loop. So whilst this could be really good for like the first dodge to enter into the loop, you kind of get punished if you're really good at maintaining the loop because you're not going to be able to proc it additional times. At least that's how I recall Radiant Dance Machines working. I could be wrong about that. If I am right about that though, I think we might end up swapping this out for something else. They also recommended Heavy-Handed for orb generation on melee final blows. Makes perfect sense with all the Withering Blades we'll be throwing. Double Impact Induction so that we get grenade cooldown refund when we get a powered melee hit. Obviously, a lot of Withering Blades going out makes perfect sense. Resistances of your choice on the chest piece. On the boots, they recommended Recuperation, Absolution, and a Weapon Surge of your choice. I'm going with Strand Weapon Surge because I have that Imminence SMG in the primary slot and the Cataphract in the heavy slot. You can go with whatever matches up with your weapon element selections. Same goes for the Siphon mod that you'll have on your helmet. I've got this because I've got the primary ammo SMG that is Strand. I've got the Imminence. And then on the class item, Reaper, Powerful Attraction, Bomber. Similar to Dynamo, I believe that Bomber does not work when you're in multi-dodge, so I might end up looking to swap this out for something else. Maybe I'll go something like Time Dilation to increase the amount of time I got on the Strand Weapon Surge. I can't remember if Powerful Attraction works while I'm in the multi-dodge loop. If I recall correctly, it does, but that's why we test these out. That's the spread. I'll have a link in the description. We're going to go into what was formerly called Legend Onslaught. It's now called Expert Onslaught. I asked you guys in the previous episode what activity you guys wanted to see these Willet builds tested in, and a lot of you said that even though Onslaught is technically old content within the light, you like watching these builds tested in Onslaught. So we're going to give this one a go in Onslaught and answer that question. Will it build? Okay, so if we run in here and we do our dodge, there's our multi-dodge. And then we can basically do this infinitely as long as we're killing stuff. Hence the attack helicopter. Oh god. You can get up like really high. Something I want to do right out the gate is get a couple of kills with my buried bloodline to get Devour. I'm actually going to ask my teammates to not kill stuff just for a second, because I want to get going with this and just see like what I can do on my own. So now I have Devour. And now I can just do my spam helicopter move, I think. Woo! And I actually never ended up getting Devour during that chain, I don't believe. So let me kill a couple of dudes real fast. Now I should... Okay, I definitely had Devour. I saw it right there. So now I'm going to try and just maintain Devour, which is going to be really nice, because I should get grenade energy on every kill, which is just intrinsic with Devour. Which means I should be able to use my grapple grenade a lot more frequently, which means I can proc the Facet of Bravery a lot more frequently, which means I always have unraveling rounds coming from my SMG. And now I can just permanently jolt everything, keep dodging next to everything, keep doing the spinny spin. And Jolt Sun's overload champions as well, in addition to my slow. I just ran out of my class ability, which I think should be okay. I think you guys can start killing stuff now if you want to. Grapple in. A lot of exploder shanks, so we definitely want to be careful with those. So, I feel like the Ascension damage is okay. I think the way we're going to want to use this is not necessarily to spam Ascension over and over again. I think the idea is going to be to use Ascension to jolt everything, and then we spam our Gambler's Dodge next to everything to get a ton of Withering Blades and just fling Withering Blades. That's going to proc our hands-on mod and our heavy-handed mod, so we get bonus super energy and we generate orbs. We have our Ascension spam available just to jolt everything, so it takes extra damage when we hit it with follow-up attacks and follow-up damage now. So, dodge right there, kill that guy, throw a couple Withering Blades, get some more dodges off. And then this is a new pack of enemies, so now I'll re-jolt everything. And then I just get to spam my Withering Blades, shoot my Tangle, which is going to do bonus damage and have increased explosion radius thanks to Threaded Blast. Keep up with the multi-dodge. How overpowered would Ascension be if it also procced your class ability? Like if using Ascension and consuming my class ability also proc Gambler's Dodge? That would mean every time we use Ascension, that we would also proc Gambler's Dodge and refund a melee charge if we're close to an enemy. That would be absolutely sweet. That's a little too good to be true though, so now we have our unraveling rounds because we did get a grapple kill. Definitely want to get Devour back up if we can. And we're just going to continue spamming our grapple. I can't tell if I have Devour up or not. I have too many buffs. I do not believe I do. That's okay. Whoops. Spam, spam, spam. I haven't used my super a single time yet either. I kind of want to chuck my super, just see how quickly I get it back. So there's my Dynamo proc right there. And I feel like I did not proc Dynamo again. I could be wrong. Yeah, that definitely didn't proc Dynamo. So like I said, I'm questioning how effective Dynamo would be in something like this. I mean, it definitely works wonders for when you do the first dodge to initiate your multi-dodge loop. But if you're really good at maintaining it, you only get that one proc of Dynamo, and you just never really get to proc it again. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling about that mod selection. I think you could probably swap it out for something like... I wonder if you use Ascension, does that proc Dynamo? It looks like no. And what's interesting as well, what I just noticed, not only does Ascension not seem to proc Dynamo, but it also doesn't seem to initiate the multi-dodge chain for Radiant Dance Machines. Meaning you can never run into a pack of enemies and begin with Ascension, because it'll consume your class ability. So if I run in here, it said multi-dodge available. I used that real quick, but yeah, I do not get my dodge back. So always want to begin with a regular dodge before you even think about using Ascension. So the way I want to play it is I'm going to run in here. Now my multi-dodge is procced. I want to say the damage is respectable, but these are just red bar enemies. The AoE is nice. That is the one thing I like about this a lot over the shuriken, is the shuriken can only hit so many enemies. This hits anything that's in range. So we're gonna pop that so this guy gets jolted. I really want to wait until he gets his shield up. Get our grapple melee going. Get a finisher. Whoa! Oh, we got demolitionists. Demolitionists are always kind of a fun time. Let's pop Transcendence. Pop the Ascension. I don't even know what I got killed by. Would this build work in a Grandmaster Nightfall? No, I don't really think it would, because it is very reliant on continuously getting kills, which is always more difficult in a Grandmaster Nightfall. But I don't think every single build has to work in a Grandmaster Nightfall. If you write off any build just because it doesn't work in a GM, I think that's kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Alright, we're just going to keep spamming our dodges. We got our multi-dodge going right now, so I'm kind of trying to weave back and forth between killing trash mobs and dealing damage to the boss. Killing trash mobs to extend my multi-dodge, and of course, dealing damage to the boss because we want to kill the boss. Get a couple dodges next to all these guys. Let the cataphract sing a little bit. Go back to ag clearing a little bit. Kind of want to double dodge right here just to get both of my shurikens. Maybe kill a couple guys with the buried bloodline so that we get devour. Now we get some grenade refund, and we get a 100 HP heal from every single kill. And the nice thing about this is too, with I kind of see why they went grapple grenade. With grapple grenade, you can fly around and do your ascension stuff while you have devour, which devour is a part of the build that I added. They didn't have that necessarily because I went ahead and threw on the buried bloodline, but I like this combo a lot because if you have devour, you can kill everything, all the trash mobs with your ascension. That'll get you your grenade back very quickly, and then you can grapple to like another pack of enemies and then start using ascension on them, and you can kind of like zip around the map with really high mobility. If I roll a 10 or higher on the dice, then you have to like the video and you have to subscribe to the channel. Ooh. How does RDM work with the Strand clones? So they actually mentioned that in their write-up. They said they did want to go Threaded Spectre. However, upon their testing, Radiant Dance Machines does not work with the Strand clones. So while you have multi-dodge, you won't like infinitely generate Strand clones. If that was the case, I think that would definitely be the better pick compared to Stylish Executioner. However, since that is not the case, obviously seems kind of useless for this build in the same way that I'm not entirely sure that Dynamo and Bomber are getting us really everything we want out of this thing. Okay, so dodge to proc multi-dodge, because we of course can't do it by popping Ascension. I'm gonna double dodge so we get our shurikens, throw a double shuriken, hit another Ascension to jolt everything. I think these guys are freshly spawned, so we'll hit another Ascension, we'll double shuriken, we'll double dodge, we'll shuriken, we'll double dodge, we'll double shuriken, Ascension. Yeah, this is sweet. Attack helicopter. You can't really see what I'm doing because I keep jumping into the tree, but it's working. Grapple melee in here. Give me my unraveling rounds. Oh boy. Okay, let's pull out the buried bloodline. These guys are hurting. Big tanky sniper shanks. Let's get our devour up. And what's really nice is buried bloodline actually synergizes really well with Stylish Executioner because, of course, as we know, Stylish Executioner is going to make you invisible whenever you get a final blow on a elemental debuffed enemy. And the neat thing about Buried Bloodline when you have the Catalyst is that while you have Devour, all of your shots weaken enemies. So if you're shooting something and you're weakening it, and then you kill it, weaken obviously counts towards proccing Stylish Executioner. So you can go invisible literally just by shooting stuff. Once the spark spawns, I'm going to ask both my teammates to just kind of hang back and let me do my thing. I'm going to see how quickly I can indeed get Transcendence going. That's a good question. That question was asked, by the way, in the live stream, twitch.tv/Mactics. We film all these live, of course. Okay, so let's grapple grenade in. I'm going to grapple melee. That basically filled out my darkness meter entirely. And now we can spam Ascension. And oh, okay. What? Oh, I got frozen. No! How fast do we get Transcendence episode 2? Uh-huh. So there's our light meter basically full. And now we can spam dodges. And there's our darkness meter full. Something I have not been doing a particularly great job of, in my opinion, with the update to Final Shape, is I feel like I have not been taking advantage of Transcendence pops as much as I could be. Like, I feel like I'm holding it the way that your match-made Trials teammates hold their super on the final round. I gotta get better with that. Because it is so strong. You get bonus damage resistance, you get bonus weapon damage, your ability regeneration is just absurd. Oh, jolt that guy, which will stun him. Boop, boop, boop. See ya. Oh, you... Wait. I'm also forgetting about my super. Okay, so here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to get my loop going while my teammates deal with the Tormentor. Because the biggest problem with Tormentors is that they just kind of... They distract you while the other enemies get by. So I'm going to not let the other enemies get by. Whoop. And that is how much our ADU got damaged on the Tormentor wave. Oh! Whoa! Ah! No. Bro! What is he doing? What's he doing over there? Woo! Okay, let's pop our Silence and Squall. Let's pop our Transcendence. Let's do a little dodge. We want to get our Devour. We also, I forgot we can get melee final blows to proc Blessing, because if we recall, the Faceted Blessing gives us health regeneration when we get powered melee final blows. So that also is another option if we're not running something like Devour. It would also help very much if we could actually aim our Withering Blades and we just weren't very bad at the game. Do a little spin. Yeah, this is fun. Whoop! I don't think I ever ended up actually getting devoured. But it didn't matter. Which is good because, like I said, they did not recommend specific weapons. I know you can kind of go whatever you want when it comes to weaponry for this. And I also know that Buried Bloodline with a Catalyst is kind of hard to get. You have to have RNG and you have to go through something like kind of complicated to get the Catalyst. So if you're not someone who has that already, you don't have to necessarily rely on having a weapon that gives you Devour. You'll be perfectly fine with the Faceted Blessing and getting melee final blows all the time. Speaking of which, though, well, I do like a lot of the mods we have. I love the hands-on. I love the heavy-handed. I'm not sure I'm sold on the Bomber and the Dynamo. because we're only really proccing them once, because then once we get into our infinite chain, we don't really proc them again. So I think I'll swap the dynamo. I think you could either go with a void siphon, so you can make orbs with both primary ammo weapon and your special ammo weapon, or you could go heavy ammo finder, the classic. I think I'll go with heavy ammo finder for now. Down here, it looks like we don't have the energy real estates, and drop our mobility mod and go time dilation. Kind of see how that feels. Oh, I did take off my siphon. Whoops. Strand siphon back on. My bad. Okay. That guy had a little too much health. His health was a little abnormal. Just saying. Okay, time for spin. And a spin again. And let's spin to jolt you, and then we'll throw our Withering Blade. We'll hit a dodge, Withering Blade, hit a dodge, Withering Blade, hit a... Okay, you know what? If you're just terrible at the game like I am, and you can't actually hit the Withering Blades, this is fantastic, because it's impossible to miss Ascension. Although I'll probably still figure out a way to miss it. Boom, boom. How? Step 1, get Devour back. Step 2. I know it's kind of crazy. I wish Ascension did not take you as high up as it does. Because there is... Oh, well, actually, you know, is there like a height limit for its effectiveness? I can't tell if it has like a range when it comes to verticality. So now I'm noticing that we're kind of in a stage where enemies are a little tankier, and I'm noticing that our Ascension isn't quite hitting hard enough to actually get the final blows on everything. So now it's feeling like the Ascension is much more of an amplified application tool for Galvanic Armor, the seasonal mod that gives us bonus damage resistance, and... Oh, there's a 100 gift. What? I need everyone watching the video right now to comment W Cohesive Moss down in the comment section, please. I feel like Ascension is now less a tool for actually killing the guys and more of a tool for just applying jolts so we do bonus damage to them. So let's see what the final tally is. 579 kills, doubled my other teammate who was in here for the entire duration. Don't know how many kills our third teammate had because he disconnected. And it's no shade on Pixels whatsoever. I think the build was just like that solid. I mean, you guys saw me. I was inside the enemy spawns. I was ripping the helicopter blades and I killed everything the second it popped up. So it's not even Pixels' fault. The enemies died before they even walked to where Pixels could get them. So will it build? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, yes. I will say this thing definitely struggles a little bit more when you get into higher end content, and it's much more of a utility based build where you're doing a lot of freezing with the shurikens and jolting enemies and applying amplified to both yourself and your teammates. Whereas in lower end content, it has the damage to just straight up kill everything right from the get-go. Struggles a little bit more in, I would say, like GM level content once the enemies get a little too high above your power level. But for 95% of the content in the game, this thing's going to be absolutely spectacular, and it absolutely will build. Big shout out to Connolly for submitting it. I like the attack helicopter. Let's probably call it the attack helicopter hunter build, and that's kind of the thematic it's giving. And not only is it really fun to use, not only is it particularly effective in pretty much all content, but it feels really, really fun. It feels like a unique way to play the game. I know a lot of people are kind of burnt out on the combination blow melee hunter spam setup. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to have your build reviewed for one of these videos, please submit it in the Will It Build channel, my Discord server, linked in the description below. Check out the written guide for this on Mobalytics, also linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.